Miss Watson, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Mrs. Watson.
Happy birthday. Happy 25th. Oh, God.
I love her.
Okay. I'd like to call this January 10th, 2023 organizational meeting of the New Philadelphia Board of Education to order, wishing Ms. Watson a happy birthday. And the second order of business will be our mission statement. The New Philadelphia City Schools will provide all students the opportunity to achieve their highest potential, to become educated, self-sufficient, and responsible citizens. We are committed to providing every student a diverse quality education within a safe and secure environment through a dedicated, innovative, and highly qualified staff in partnership with parents and the community at large. We gave our decisions against the mission statement. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Mr. France?
Present.
Dr. Fuller is not here yet. Mr. Galantine? Mr. McMath?
Here.
Mr. Weaver?
Here.
We have a quorum.
And no one needs to have the oath of office read to them this
No.
evening. At this time, I would like to open the floor for nominations for Board President calendar year 2023.
I'd like to nominate Mr. McMath.
Mr. Weaver nominates Mr. McMath. Are there any other nominations for Board President 2023? I'll close the nominations. Please call the roll.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Abstain.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations, Mr. McMath. I'm sure you do a great job. Yes, I do, right?
People need to know who you are.
I don't want to friends. Geez, I gathered up all of Todd's paperwork when I came down here. My cheat sheets. Veterans.
Uh-huh. All right. Continuing on, we open up the floor for nominations for vice president.
I would nominate Denver Galantine.
Do I get to sit with the adults then?
Yeah, come on over, Denver. All right,
Close nominations.
I'll close nominations then. And we will offer a vote.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Abstain.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Denver. Okay, we'll head on to committee assignments. I think Mr. France said on a communication this week, I think everyone is going to stick with assignments, correct? Any changes? So Park Board, we have Mr. Galantine and Mr. France. Buckeye Board, we have myself, Mr. McMath. Legislative Liaison and myself. Student Achievement Liaison is Dr. Fuller. Quaker Foundation, Mr. Weaver. Quaker Digital Academy Foundation is Dr. Fuller. Policy Committee is Mr. Galantine and Mr. France. Facilities Committee is Mr. France and Mr. McMath. Insurance Committee is Mr. Weaver. Evaluation Committee, Mr. Weaver, Dr. Fuller. Strategic Planning Committee would be Mr. Weaver, Mr. Galantine. And the OSBA delegate, number 1 is Mr. Galantine, and 2 is Mr. McMath.
I would move to accept those as presented.
Mr. France moves. Second?
I'll second it.
Call the roll.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next up, resolutions, dates for the meetings. Julie?
We've listed on here the dates for the regular meeting, which again can change based on things that happen throughout the year, but these are the meetings that we follow. Would you like me to continue?
So along with these meetings, I talked to a couple of you, and I talked to Amy and Julie as well about potentially adding work session dates. Bi-monthly, in the main, it would be the fourth Monday of every month, with the exception of May and July. Mrs. Wentworth sent out an email. Hopefully you guys got that, about that. So I would move that we would add those dates as work sessions so that we have them on our calendars, available times to get together.
I think that's a good idea. And we can just cancel them if we don't have any reason to meet.
Yeah. Yep, continue.
Next item is to establish the service fund for the Board of Education at $15,000. Authorize the treasurer to pay all bills as they are presented and transfer within the general fund, and to report monthly to the Board of Education those bills that were paid. Authorize the purchase of faithful performance bonds in the amount of $20,000 each for board president and superintendent, and $40,000 for the treasurer, CFO. Authorize the treasurer, CFO, and superintendent to attend professional meetings and travel on school business. Authorize the treasurer to request advance payments of tax revenue from the county auditor. Authorize the treasurer, CFO, to invest available inactive and interim funds in accordance with Revised Code Section 135.142. Designate the Times Reporter as official newspaper for placing legal ads. Set board compensation at $40 per month for up to but no more than 12 meetings per year. Authorize Jeff Williams to serve as interim superintendent in the absence of Superintendent Amy Wentworth. Authorize the superintendent to employ subs and personnel as needed. Such employment will be presented for board approval at its next meeting. Utilize legal services of Pebble and Wagner for 2023. Appoint the superintendent as hearing officer for student discipline matters. Authorize the superintendent to accept resignations. Appoint the superintendent as the representative to Ohio High School Athletic Association for matters including but not limited to student transfers. And appoint the treasurer in accordance with ORC as the board's official public records designee.
Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Any questions, comments?
Well, I guess just for clarification, compared to previous years, I mean, anything new added, changes to what we would have had in the past? These are all the same, there's no changes?
Yeah, they're very standard org meeting requirements.
Yep, okay, thanks.
Anything else, guys? All right.
Roll call.
Yep.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine? Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And I need a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting.
So moved.
France, second.
Second.
Weaver?
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. We will move into our regular January meeting, January 10th, 2023 meeting of the Board of Education. I will read the mission statement again. New Philadelphia City Schools will provide all students the opportunity to achieve their highest potential, to become educated, self-sufficient, and responsible citizens. We are committed to providing every student a diverse, quality education within a safe and secure environment through a dedicated, innovative, and highly qualified staff in partnership with parents and the community at large. We pledge allegiance.
We typically do the Pledge of Allegiance in the first meeting.
All right. Need a motion for approval of the agenda?
I need to call the roll.
Oh, call the roll.
Mr. France?
Present.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Here.
Mr. Weaver?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Now, motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Weaver first. Second,
I'll second.
Mr. Galantine. Call the roll. Any
I would like
additions or deletions?
to table item N until I have additional information to provide the board, please.
Any other additions, deletions? No? All right, call the roll.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the minutes for the regularly scheduled meeting, December 19th, 2022?
So moved.
Mr. France, second?
Second.
Any corrections or questions, comments? All right, call the roll.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver? Mr. Galantine? Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. One of my favorite parts of the meeting every month now is we have York Elementary School with us, Mr. Maurer.
So, good evening, everyone. Appreciate you attending tonight. So we're going to go ahead and just go over some of the big highlights for what's happening at York Elementary School. I want to thank the board for this opportunity to present this evening. Any chance we get to highlight our school and talk about the great things that's happening is something that we're never going to pass up. So I appreciate you having us here today. So really couldn't pick and just focus in on one specific area. So you're going to kind of see a kind of a variety of topics and things that's going on at York Elementary. And for those of you who do not know me, I'm Matt Maurer, the principal there. All right, first up is kindergarten, and this is just kind of a sneak peek at the daily routine and things that are happening in the kindergarten classroom. So we have kind of just the daily routine of what that looks like. So I have a little video here I'll start us off with.
Your word is tough.
Very good.
Alrighty, so that's just kind of a look into your typical kindergarten classroom of some of the things that's going on a regular basis. The next topic I want to cover is something fun that happened just in the month of December with our kindergarten classes. They did something called Holidays Around the World. So throughout the month of December, they traveled to 10 different countries, and they even had little suitcases and passports that they made. And with each country that they traveled to, there was a story about that, as well as some literacy activity page that they got to do with letters or sounds, and then a fun activity or craft there. And you can see in the picture there that the kindergarten students, I think they were doing some sort of countdown to Christmas with gluing like little foam balls onto a Christmas tree there. So students had a lot of fun with that in the month of December, traveling to the different countries, learning about Christmas and how that's celebrated, and then getting to do some fun activities that tied in with those lessons. So the staff did a really good job of making the learning kind of engaged and relevant to the students there. So you can see some of the fun that was had there with our kindergarten classes. Next up, throughout the month of December as well, they did a gingerbread unit. So here's some of the fun things that happened with that. And the best part is there's so many fun things that's tied in with kindergarten, but it's all tied to learning and letters and sounds and to the standards. So the students really had a lot of fun with that. So here's a little bit of an overview of the gingerbread unit that the kindergarten did.
Right, we've been reading some different gingerbread men books. The first book up there we read was The Gingerbread Man. Raise your hand if you know who the main character was. Who was the story all about? Xavier, who is the story all about? That's right, The Gingerbread Man. Very good. Another book we read was The Gingerbread Girl. Raise your hand if you know who the main character was in that book. Elliot. The Gingerbread Girl. Class, were those main characters the same or different? Different. Who can raise their hand and tell me two characters that were in both books? The Gingerbread Man and The Gingerbread Girl. Camry, who do you think? Very good. Both of them were in both stories. All right, something else we do with gingerbread men, and the man and woman is we did this fun working together. Ellie, you said if you were a gingerbread girl, what would you run away as fast as you could from? That's right. You also showed your nice gingerbread house. What did it look like? Very good. Ascension, what did you say you run away if you were a gingerbread woman? You said you run away from a pot, and there is your nice gingerbread house.
So you can't do a gingerbread unit and compare and contrast characters and talk about the setting and main character without actually making the characters themselves. So they had a fun time with that there throughout the month of December. Highlighting a couple things from first grade as we move on here. First grade places a high priority on learning sight words and being fluent with those. So something fun that they did throughout the month of December and November was doing that through the means of poetry. So they really practiced their words and then got to share their poetry with a kindergarten class there. So you're going to see a first grade class, Mrs. Anderson's class, reading their sight word poem to Mrs. Bishop's kindergarten class. So I thought they did a nice job with that of reading that out loud to the kindergarten class. So definitely doing a nice job with that. Next up is one of our York building goals this year was placing a higher emphasis on small group instruction. And one of our goals was to do this on a more regular and consistent basis. So I think the staff really have spent a lot of time at staff meetings and at PLC time in the morning to discuss how to best do this. And I think it's really paying off for the students. So I'm going to talk about some of the small groups that's happening at York. So the picture there off to the left, you can see students working with number sense and place value practice for number review. And just to get the opportunity to collaborate and work in groups and be able to talk, it has been a great success for our kindergarten and first grade students. In that picture there, you see two students, I believe they're doing a retell story with sentence strips of retelling a story, and they're gluing them down and then practice reading the story on a retell version there together with partner work in small groups. Some other small groups that happened this year so far, you can see some project-based learning there. I think they did a Thanksgiving project about using details to describe something, and they were talking about turkeys, so they kind of listed what they are, where they live, what they can do, and what they have. So they had a fun time, and then ending their project with a poster, and then presenting them to some of the other classes in the building. Another big hit in small group is just some read to self time, exploring books and getting some library time, as well as Chromebooks. The students love to get on Chromebooks and do a lot of the programs that are on there for them for math and reading reinforcement and practice. So small groups has definitely been a big hit. A couple more that's been fun is some exploratory small group stations. There you see them. I think they were in October weighing pumpkins and then comparing and contrasting the numbers to find out which one was bigger and smaller. So they had a fun time working together to explore those things. And then another big one is what we call our teacher-led small group station. And this is where the instruction is very explicit because it's differentiated by what those students need. So that's Mrs. Will's kindergarten class. And I believe they were working on initial sounds and letter sounds there, and then matching the letter sounds up to the pictures that match that letter and letter sound. So manipulatives is a big hit for small groups as well. So I think the staff and students have done a fantastic job with that this year, and in working through small groups and meeting that building goal of doing this on a more regular and consistent basis. So. Here's a couple students that I have on here. They're just talking about their favorite center. So we have Charlotte up first here. There's are kind of short little videos here that I'll just, hopefully you guys can hear. I don't know, I feel like it's not playing up to its ability here. That was Charlotte. She was saying her favorite center is Game Center because she gets to play games with her friends. And then we have Estella up here. And then she so Writing Center. Writing Center is her favorite because she likes to write and draw a lot, she said. So that's her, those are some favorite centers, and that was from Mrs. Watson's class. We have Mrs. Watson in attendance tonight on her birthday. So. Okay, one other area I want to highlight is we had literacy night on December 8th, and it's just nice to have the families back in the buildings again. I know for COVID it was something that we didn't have people coming into the buildings very much, but to have this evening, to have the families come and it was a great success. So a couple things here I want to point out is to start the evening that night, Mrs. DeBacco, our literacy teacher, she gave a presentation about how to help at home and some reinforcement things with literacy that families can do. And they were kind of simple things that they can practice at home to reinforce some of the things that's happening at school. And then they transitioned to stations. So you can see students there. This was letter and sight word bingo. So they got to play some bingo at their first station and win some prizes. So the students had a blast with that. And then they transitioned to a literacy board game activity of moving game pieces down to the end there to win some prizes. So they had fun with that and getting to have their brothers and sisters and moms and dads there to get to do these literacy games with them was a lot of fun for them. And then we ended the evening with a special read aloud from former principal Mrs. Triplett. So she was our special guest reader. So the students gathered in the gym at the end of the night to hear a story from Mrs. Triplett. So that was great to have her back at Philly here and get to share a story with the students. And then on the way out, the students got to pick a free book up and take home with them as a little souvenir. So great night having the families back in there on December 8th. So it was a great turnout and students had a lot of fun with that. All right, I brought a couple York students here with me this evening. So they're going to do a little share out here as we wrap up, and they're going to share out their favorite things about York Elementary and about school. So first up, Elliot Yoder. He's here this evening. So Elliot, if you want to come on up by me, you can share out your favorite thing about York. Go ahead. Right there's good.
Hi, my name is Elliot Ewing, and I am in Mrs. Ingrid's kindergarten class. My favorite thing about school is because I get to learn more math.
Getting on Chromebooks and learning math. That's good. Next up, if you just want to stand up there, that'll be fine. Maddie Renner, she's in kindergarten in Mrs. Bishop's class, and she's going to share her favorite. Go ahead, Maddie.
Hi, I am Maddie Renner. I'm in Mrs. Bishop's kindergarten class. The thing I like about York Elementary is lunch because I get to eat with my top of my
Well done.
Next up, we have Ruby Harris here. She's in first grade in Mrs. Cook's class. Go ahead, Ruby.
Hi, my name is Ruby Hayes, and I'm in Mrs. Cook's first grade class. And my favorite thing about school is math because I can learn new numbers. It is fun.
Well done.
Good job, Ruby. All right, last up, we have Kemper Capinas, and he's in first grade in Mrs. Clapper's class. Go ahead, Kemper.
Hi, my name is Kemper Captain. I'm in Mrs. Clapper's first grade class. My favorite thing about school is Quaker Pride tickets because you get to pick out the red treasure chest.
All right, Kemper, I have a question for you. Part of getting Quaker Pride tickets is being a good listener and being respectful. Do you think our members up here, do you think they did a nice job listening and paying attention to our think so? All right.
Thank you, Kemper.
Well, it's not Friday and it's not 3 o'clock when we usually do our Quaker Pride drawings. Every Friday I draw about 15 names out to come pick out a red treasure chest, and Kemper's won a couple times this year, I know. We're going to do our drawing here this evening. And so everyone, I think Kemper agrees, everyone earned their Quaker Pride ticket. I already have them pre-filled out. So everyone, there's your ticket. And then when you're ready, you're going to put them in the bucket. And then Kemper's going to draw out a winner tonight for a Quaker Pride drawing here. So we have Mr. Williams. You sure he gets one? He gets one. All right. We have Mrs. Wentworth. You got a Quaker Pride for being such a good listener. Mr. McMath. Here's your Quaker Pride ticket. Mr. Galentine. There you go. All right. And then the students earn these, and then they bring them down to the office, and then they get to put on a sticker. We're missing that part. We got Mr. France there. And then you get to put on a sticker and wear it all day. And then the teachers ask the students how they earn these, and then they tell them what they're doing so great. So you get a Quaker Pride sticker to wear as well.
Thank you.
We tell the kids to put them on their shirt, and sometimes they like to put them on their forehead and wherever else. So we have to specify where to put your Quaker Pride sticker there. And then we're going to do a Quaker Pride drawing, Kemper. What do you think? All right.
Go ahead. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kemper better pull mine.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Quaker Pride sticker. There we go. All righty. Okay, and then,
I feel like I got.
and then you gotta put them in the bin, put them in there. Kemper, you wanna draw the name out? Who's gonna be our Quaker Pride winner of the evening? We're gonna find out. All right. Okay, Kemper, draw one out there. Who's our lucky winner this evening? Who do we got there?
Mr. France.
We have Mr. France. Winner?
Thank you so much.
Yes, and you win a Doco gift card.
Really?
Hi.
Well, terrific.
You're the Quaker Pride winner.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks for having us, appreciate it.
Yeah, well done.
Coming. Thank you so much. I think I want to go back to kindergarten and do Christmas around the world. Right? That would be great. Thank you, Mr. Mauer, and all of you students. That was great to hear from you. You can come anytime. Right? Yeah, look at that.
Mr. Mauer was a student of mine a few years ago.
It's awesome. Thank you so much for coming. Do we have any public participation?
No, we do not.
All right. No public participation for this evening. And so now, Mrs. Wentworth?
All right, it'll take me just a couple of minutes to switch computers here and get ready, and we'll talk a little bit about our strategic plan. All of you York families are welcome to stay for the evening if you don't.
I gotta move, I can't sit here and have that late.
The exodus begin.
I don't blame you, 'cause I know you kids.
That was good.
Yeah, well
Thanks
done.
for coming.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kids did a very nice job. That was very-
I know.
I think there were some extra Dave France ones in there
There were three, actually.
that we didn't see.
I split them.
I was just looking for your color.
That was nice.
Jeff did
But that will go to good use at the next facilities meeting when I come up.
Sorry, Denny.
You gotta get yourself on that committee, Jeff.
What's that?
The facilities.
I'd love to be
You
on
could have the donuts.
On it.
You just gotta bring the donuts. You can come in whenever you want.
They bring donut every time I come.
You could be on the committee.
All right, well, I certainly
Amish donuts?
wish I didn't have to follow York Elementary, kindergarten, and first grade students because their presentation was far more interesting than mine is going to be, I'm afraid. But I will do my best to share this with you. And actually, I am very excited to bring to you the work that we are proposing that will be our strategic plan for the next 3 years. We began talking about the need to develop a new strategic plan about a year ago. So it's very exciting that we are finally at the place where we are ready to make a proposal and a recommendation to the board that this will be our plan. So what I'm going to do tonight here, first of all, is talk a little bit, just for a couple minutes, about what is a strategic plan. I think educators are often very guilty, especially educators, of assuming that everybody in the room has a common definition for terms that we throw around. So want to ensure that we all know what we're talking about here and have the same view for what a strategic plan is. We're going to spend a couple of minutes talking about how we developed this plan and why we developed this plan in the way that we did. Then we're actually going to go into the goals and objectives that we are proposing will be our new strategic plan for the next 3 years. And once we know what those goals and objectives are, we're going to spend a couple minutes talking about, okay, how do we go from what the goals and objectives are to actually making them become a reality. So we're going to spend just a couple minutes on that. And then finally, how do we know if this plan is successful? And I do want to say there are copies of just the goals and objectives on the table next to the agenda. So if you did not get a copy, feel free to grab one now or on your way out. You can take that with you so you have that with you. So first of all, very simply, what is a strategic plan? And a strategic plan is really an organization's way to communicate what their common focus is and set the goals and priorities for the next period of time for any specific organization. It's really important to understand that a strategic plan does not necessarily incorporate everything that an organization, in our case, the school district, is going to be working on. It's simply where are we focusing our energy and attention, where are we prioritizing our resources, including human resources, time, financial resources, etc. And in this case, we are really focusing on areas where we as a district feel we have room to grow and where we feel like we can really make an impact if we focus on these things. I want to bring us back to our mission statement because this mission statement truly is the thing that drives our decision-making. But it drives the decision-making of the board, it drives the decision-making of the administration. And the strategic plan, as we're presenting it tonight, is not intended to conflict with the mission statement in any way. It's intended to support the mission statement. Our mission is that we will provide all students the opportunity to achieve their highest potential, to become educated, self-sufficient, and responsible citizens. We are committed to providing every student a diverse, quality education within a safe and secure environment through a dedicated, innovative, and highly qualified staff in partnership with parents and the community at large. You'll notice parts of our strategic plan, you don't necessarily see the word students, but there are things that we have to do within an organization to ensure that we are providing those things for our students. And that is really, the mission is really the heart of behind our strategic plan. Our last strategic plan, for those of you who were around at this time, you may remember was called the Quaker Compass. It was actually adopted almost 7 years ago and was designed to be a 5-year plan. So we're clearly a couple years behind in getting a new plan going, but we had a worldwide pandemic that kind of threw us into a little bit of a funk, and then of course some leadership change. But I did want to refer back to the Quaker Compass because it really focused on 5 E's. And it's hard to read, I realize that, but it was education, excellence, exploration, environment, and engagement. And all of the goals and objectives were really focused around those things. We accomplished a lot of the things that were set out in that last strategic plan, and we now are moving and grooving with them, so to speak. We increased our opportunities for students. We increased our engagement with students. We increased our technology and gave them additional ways for exploration. And so a lot of those things don't show up in our new plan. That's because our focus is shifting a little bit to a new area to new areas within the district. So how did we develop the plan and why did we choose to develop the plan in the way that we did? And when we first had conversations about developing our new strategic plan, we decided very quickly that we wanted to partner with an outside agency to help us do that. And there were multiple reasons to do that. Obviously, the expertise of somebody who does this was a welcome thing for our district. But we felt it was really important that we try to engage as many stakeholders within our district as possible. And we felt by bringing somebody in from the outside, they would be able to do that. And in that process, they would be able to get authentic feedback from those stakeholders. We didn't want there to be any possible district bias. We did not want this to be a plan that administrators sat around the table and tried to talk about and decide what are going to be our goals and objectives. We wanted this to be a plan where every stakeholder in the district had a piece and a part of it, or at least an opportunity to be part of that. And so we worked with the Impact Group. It is a group out of Hudson, Ohio, which does this. And they really did the nuts and bolts behind developing our strategic plan. They gathered the data, they gathered the feedback, and then they took that feedback and said, what trends are emerging and what's that mean for us as a district? The way that they did that was multifaceted and multi-layered. They started by holding Zoom meetings. These were published via social media, via our website. We sent out some all calls, but the Zoom meetings were open to anybody who had the opportunity to log on with a computer, and they could have face-to-face, face-to-Zoom face conversations with the facilitators from the Impact Group, who was really asking questions of these stakeholders, such as, what do you see the strengths of the district are? Where are the weaknesses of the district? What opportunities do we have within the district? What threats are out there? And they really just started by collecting information. We also posted a survey. Impact Group posted a survey on our website and on social media that anybody could log in and provide additional feedback. All of that data went directly to this outside organization and they compiled it. And we felt like that was important because it gave people a chance to respond anonymously and they could respond authentically because we didn't know which comments were coming from which sources. We also had face-to-face meetings with students at the high school, with the teachers across the district, with all of the administrators and with the Board of Education to get feedback from them to find out what they thought our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats were as a district. And in addition, individual phone calls were made throughout the community as well. All of that data, all of that information was taken and then looked at by the Impact Group. And they said, as they looked at it, what trends are emerging? What are the stakeholders of New Philadelphia City Schools that responded to our call for input and feedback? What did they say are the most important things that are needs? What should we identify as goals and objectives that they're going to work on and focus their priorities on for the next 3 years? And again, does this include everything we do as a district? Absolutely not. These are just things that we're going to put our energy on. When they collected all that data, they identified that there are really 5 main goals that emerged from the stakeholders' feedback, from our stakeholders' feedback. And so these are the 5 goals that make up the heart of our strategic plan. Within each goal then, there are sub-objectives that address the needs of that goal. So goal number 1, facilities, finance, and transportation emerged as a big theme. Goal number 2, curriculum, academic achievement, and student services. Goal number 3, culture and climate. Goal number 4, communication and technology. And goal number 5, business operations and human resources. We're going to go through and talk a little bit about the objectives that are listed under each goal. Goal 1, objective 1, was overwhelmingly the biggest topic that came up from stakeholder feedback. And that is that we need to take a look at our facilities and figure out what are we going to do to address the needs of this community as we move forward. That showed up in about 70% of the people who responded to the surveys and the Zoom sessions. So that's really what objective number 1 is. It's saying, hey, what are we gonna do? We need to figure this out. We need to develop this master plan, and we need to do what students need in order to meet our mission statement. Objective number 1. Objective number 2 was also showed up in the vast majority of responses, and that was that we need to revisit and relook at what are our safety and security measures that we have in place here as a district. Do we need to make changes to our policies? We need to ensure that our practices are being applied consistently across the district, and that includes both during school and also at extracurricular and athletic events. Objective number 3 was all about transparency. Again, this was something that was, we heard loud and clear, was that our community wants to know what is the state of our finances within the district, and not just when we need to go out and ask for additional operating fees or levies. So we said, hey, yeah, absolutely. Let's create some user-friendly infographics that are right on our website, that are updated at least monthly, that are going to be very transparent about what the state of our finances are, so that it's out there so that people can see that. So that's going to be objective number 3. And then objective number 4 is really looking at the other operations within the district, including food service, transportation, and maintenance, and doing some audits on those services to ensure that we are serving our students in those ways in the best way possible. Of those 3, transportation was the one that was repeated the most often. 3 years ago as a district, we reconfigured our buildings to become grade banded buildings. And the educational benefits for our students, the equity that we're able now to provide our students, the collaboration that our teachers are able to engage in, are all extremely positive things and have really shown us a lot of benefits. One place where we have to work on, though, is transportation. And we acknowledge that that's an area where we need to get better. We need to figure out how we can do that better, because right now, that's a concern of ours. So that's tied into objective number 4. Those 4 objectives all fall under the category of facilities, finance, and transportation. Goal number 2 has to do more with the actual education that we're providing, curriculum, academic achievement, and student services. First objective here was really to look at the curriculum, and by curriculum, I mean the resources that we're using to ensure that our students are learning the standards and skills that the state of Ohio says they need to learn at each grade level and subject. Let's make sure that curriculum matches those standards, that it's aligned vertically and horizontally. So students are learning the things that they need to learn, and let's make sure it's applicable to real life as well. Objective number 1. Objective number 2 kind of focuses on the high school students and making sure that we are creating multiple pathways for our students so that every student has a clear path to graduation and future success, whether that be a career, whether that be college, whether that be military enlistment, whether that be something else. There are multiple paths that our students need to be able to have offered to them, and we need to make sure that they're aware of those things. So that's tied up in objective number 2. Objective number 3 is talking about ensuring that our teachers are getting the professional development opportunities in order that they are providing students what they need, that we have district-wide standards for best practice, instructional methods, and that they are part of that process. They're part of this professional development committee. Now, I do want to pause here for a second on objective number 3, because I have had some feedback and some concern about the word traditional and that objective. And the concern was that by saying we are looking at advancing traditional teaching practices, that we are trying to say that we're just looking at one way to teach students and that's how they learn. That is not at all the intent behind that word traditional. The intent behind that word traditional was to say that we are talking about traditional education within 4 walls. We're not talking about online education. We're not talking about Zoom classes. We're talking about education where we have teachers teaching and students learning in this classroom. Our teachers do a fantastic job of differentiating for student needs, and that is incorporated in the traditional face-to-face educational model, which is what New Philadelphia City Schools is going to focus on. We're not an online school. And then moving on to objective number 4 is continuing to support the PBIS committees. Mr. Maurer alluded to PBIS in York Elementary as we all got our Quaker Pride tickets and stickers. Wish I would have won that prize, but I didn't, so I have to eat my donut, Mr. France. But PBIS really helps teach our students what appropriate behavior is throughout the district, and then provides positive incentives when they exhibit that behavior. We're also going to look at our social emotional curriculum. We do have a social emotional class for some of our grade levels. And again, just pausing for a minute, because that's a topic where different people have different definitions. So let me share with you for just a second what that means for New Philly. Our social emotional learning curriculum talks about things like setting goals, like being persistent, like being gritty, like managing your emotions in a positive way. It is very much focused on the behaviors that students need in order to learn and be productive citizens. And then also that objective number 4, we're going to continue to review our anti-bullying policies and make sure that those are implemented consistently throughout the district. Goal number 3 says we need to put some emphasis on culture and climate. You know, here at New Philly City Schools, I firmly believe that we have the best teachers and the best staff members who care the most about students, and I want them all to know that. The problem is that what we're hearing is that they don't all feel like they are being appreciated. So we want to ensure that we're doing a better job of showing them that appreciation. And what's that look like? so that teachers feel like they're appreciated. When they feel filled up emotionally, they're better able to serve students. And ultimately, the students are the ones to benefit. So we want to spend some energy on that. And then we also want to spend some professional development energy on our staff members to help give them tools that they need to be able to address students' social emotional needs and challenging life situations when they come into the classroom. You know, not all of our students come from homes where they sleep in warm beds and have plenty to eat and have no challenges in getting the clothes that they need and getting to school on time. Some of them have challenges at home, and then they bring that into the school, and then it makes it difficult for those students to learn and to engage in the classroom. Many of our teachers didn't go to college and learn how to best address those things with students, and so we want to increase our professional development so that we're giving our teachers the tools to help support our students, not only academically, but also in their socio-emotional needs. Goal number 4, communication and technology. You might notice this goal has more objectives than the others. That's because one other thing that we heard as a district is that we need to do a better job of communicating. And frankly, I heard that even with regard to the development of this strategic plan. I had people come to me and say, I didn't know you were working on this. Well, we thought we were communicating. Clearly we weren't. Clearly there's a reason why we have 5 different objectives related to communications. Our intent is to make that a real focus so that we are communicating, if I can talk, both internally, which is objective number 1, meaning communicating within the district so we are consistent within the district as far as what people are hearing and seeing and understanding, but also externally to our community, to our stakeholders. Our intention is to be very transparent and to help our community have all of the information about our school. We want to promote our school. We want them to know what's going on. We want to invite them to be part of it. And clearly that's an area where we have a lot of room to grow. Along with that, objective number 4, we want to make sure our students are continuing to have up-to-date technology in their hands, that they're learning how to use it appropriately. And objective number 5, we really need to take a look at our website, and we know that. It's got old information, it's got redundant information. We need a full audit, we need to update that, and we need to get that more user-friendly and really help our district be transparent. And so that's all tied up in goal number 4. And then finally, goal number 5, focusing on business operations and human resources, has 2 objectives. And paraphrasing them, objective number 1 is making sure we have the best and the brightest here serving our students and our community. And objective number 2 is then taking those teachers and those staff members and providing leadership opportunities for them so that as we have leadership positions within the district, we are growing from within. New Philadelphia City Schools should be the employment choice of every educator in the county and surrounding counties. And we want to make sure that we get those people here and that they feel like this is a place that they want to be. Those are our goals. Those are objectives. That is what we heard from the stakeholders that responded and engaged with us and provided feedback to us. All of that is designed to support the mission, which is all about our students. How we are going to provide all students the opportunity to achieve their highest potential to become educated, self-sufficient, and responsible citizens. Hopefully, you can see in that how those goals and objectives will help us to do that. That is certainly our intention. So now what? We've got a really pretty plan. We've got some good goals and objectives. What do we do now to really put that plan into place? Because as of right now, it's just a lot of really nice words. These are the next steps. It starts with the administrative team, and in fact, they've already started looking at this. They're all selecting objectives that they're going to be in charge of. And they're going to say, you know, I'm going to work with some other administrators, I'm going to work with other staff members, and I'm going to work with community members, and I'm going to own this objective, and we're going to make sure that it happens. How do we do that? we're gonna establish timelines for when we're gonna get these things done. First part of the timeline is to figure out what is our baseline data. Where are we at with regard to this objective? Then make recommendations for what the next steps are and set a timeline for that. And then they move into implementation, and that is all time-bound as well. Once they get that plan, then they're gonna start outlining what are the action steps that we need to take in order to make this a reality. So this is something that is gonna start right away. As I said, administrators have already looked at this. This has already started. And the idea is that in 3 years, we can stand here and say, you know what, we accomplished things. Or as we got into this, we saw that we needed to tweak this goal, that maybe it didn't quite hit the mark with what our needs are. We got more information from our stakeholders. That's what we want this plan to be. We want it to be a living document. We want to be able to adjust it and refine it as we go along the way. We are going to measure each one of these goals. That's part of the charge of the administrators in charge of each objective is how are we going to know if this is successful? What are we going to look at to determine if this is successful? As an administrative team, we're going to be responsible to report out on this at least quarterly, 4 times a year, and report out annually to the entire district at least once a year. Where are we at? Did we need to make some adjustments? Do we need to make some changes? What are we going to do in order to be successful? And that is the proposed strategic plan for the next 3 years. With that, I would be delighted either from the board or from the community here. If you have any questions that I can answer, I'm sure we'll be happy to try.
We get a motion in a second to get it open up for discussion.
Do that first, excuse me.
Move to adopt.
I have a motion to approve this and then we can ask questions.
So moved.
A second?
Okay.
Anybody second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Chris.
Sure.
Okay.
Questions, comments?
It's just a comment that I am hopeful that there's some effort to make the information more widespread. The only reason I know to be here is that my husband's on the staff at the current time, and it was a call, I think, to the staff about this meeting. Had I not heard that, I would not know the meeting was happening, so I wouldn't be here. So as an interested community member, I'm old-timey. I read the Times Reporter. I listen to the radio. Sometimes I'm on the website, but not regularly. So I do hope some effort is made to get this information. I'm not sure the answer to that, but.
Well, that was gonna be my next question. So.
Except that Times Reporter, Bargain Hunter.
Okay.
Radio.
All right.
Old-time communication, I guess.
I will accept that feedback. Thank you.
Back in, I do believe, 2018, when we started attempt to build a new school. Ohio State came in and did the facilities assessment. Has there been any movement on completing that? Obviously, we're not getting a new school anytime soon. Has there been any movement on fixing the issues on that facility?
The issues, well, we spent a lot of money on the schools relative to boiler systems and things like that. So we certainly have put some energy into maintaining the district. But that's part of goal 1, objective 1, is to dig out that report, figure out what it says and move forward from there. The pandemic came in right as that process was starting, and that really derailed us. And then we had a huge administrative change, and it really hasn't been the focus. But that's goal 1, objective 1, is to pick that back up and figure out where we are and what we're going to do. So the answer, no, but that's where we're headed.
That would be another thing with communication, like in the finance and everything else. Like, once things are set, okay, here's our proposed, we know, I'm throwing something out there.
Sure.
The middle school roof is in dire need of replacement, and we need $1.2 million to replace that roof. Here's our timeline, here's our process, here's when this is gonna happen. have something like that to see so people in the community at least know that, hey, okay, here's what's going on, this is what it's costing, and this is when it's gonna happen. You know, instead of, you know, for most of the time, things just sort of happen and you don't know if, did we get that new boiler in? Did we, did the new roof come in? Did the Wi-Fi service get updated in the high school? We just know that, hey, we're spending money.
So where would we best communicate that information? How would we best do that?
There's a spot on the school website,
Okay.
like a facilities update report or something like that, where you could go, you can jump on the website, you can click on that and say, hey, okay, well, I want to see what's going on in the high school. You can click on the high school tab. Okay, here's our agenda for fixing in the high school. And timeline, then at least it was a place to go, you can look at it, you can see it, and see updates and improvements.
Appreciate that.
We maybe, I think what Corey's saying, very pertinent. Certainly, we talked an awful lot about the condition of the buildings, and maybe Julie can give us a real brief ESSER definition and how the impacted our roofs, our boilers, the things that we talked about really being in disrepair, and how we couldn't have afforded that without the ESSER monies that came along.
We got a lot of money in ESSER, and we sat down originally when we received our
What's
ESSER money. ESSER money is the COVID-19 funds that were issued, federal funds. So we received that funding as all schools did. We received about $7.8 million. At the time, Mrs. Wentworth happened to be the federal coordinator. So we sat down and drew a plan of how best to spend that money. And most of the items that we were required to spend in ESSER 3, it was given to us in 3 rounds. ESSER 1 was about lapsed learning. ESSER 2 was about percentage of technology and cleaning supplies and things like that. And ESSER 3 was more about air quality. So, and there was some flexibility in there. In ESSER 1, we purchased some tech for our rooms so that we could update rooms. We got new line boards in all of our classrooms. ESSER 2, we bought more. ESSER 1, we bought laptops and Chromebooks. I'm sorry. ESSER 2, we bought the new lines. We also planned for lapsed learning, so we did some summer school. And we purchased cleaning supplies to keep our rooms clean. We also got those, what do you call those things that spray? The sprayers, yeah. Anyway, they sprayed our rooms to disinfect. And in ESSER 3, ESSER 2 and 3, we had some money left. So what we did was South School got a roof. The high school got a roof. We got all new boilers throughout the district. Every boiler has been replaced at this point. We got air conditioning for all the air conditioners that were broken. We're in the process of still installing those. I think we have 2 units that aren't installed yet. One is, I believe, at Welty.
There's just one out.
Okay, we're down to 1, and that's at Welty. We spent almost, on roofs, it was $1.5 million. The roof at the high school was about $938,000. And that included curbs and things like that to install air conditioning and heating and cooling units, things like that. So all of those projects are still actively being completed. The ESSER money has to be finalized out by September of 2024. And so we're still in the process of planning that money, but we've done a lot of updates to the district.
Yeah, being someplace you can jump on the website, you just see that stuff's happening, just how else do we know?
That's good feedback. Any other questions or comments?
Just because I'm not an acronym guy, what is PBIS? What does it stand for?
Positive behavior intervention supports.
And I would just suggest that you write that out, just
That's
because
the point.
That's another thing educators.
talking to you guys over the years,
Yeah.
I can't keep up.
Yeah.
This probably isn't a goal comment. I don't know if there's a board member that participates in the Economic Development Committee for the county. It may be wise to have a board member be part of that to understand what's going on with economic development. I know the mayor is part of that, and to have a board member that's part of that would be helpful as well. There's going to be, right now projected, just based on existing businesses, there's going to be about 1,000 new jobs created in the county in the next 2 years. That's if no new businesses move in. That's going to cause a problem or an opportunity for the strategic plan that obviously you have to address if each job means a family of 4 in growth. Just from a business perspective, I'm interested, and I understand we're trying to create a culture of positive feedback and make people feel appreciated. Part of that is also being honest and open with people on how they can get better. So what I'm seeing in the plan is, how do we tell everybody that they're appreciated? But then how are we also going to create a feedback mechanism where we can help our teachers get better? Here's what you're doing well, here's where you're weak at, because that impacts the final product, which is our human capital of our kids. So I'm just concerned that it's, let's have teacher appreciation lunches, let's tell everybody we like them, but what's the professional, who does it? What's the standard in education that can help a teacher? Well, wherever they are now, that's not where they're going to stay. We can send them to training, we can send them to development, but if it's not purposeful to help them improve on something that they need to get better at, and I don't know what that is, but I just want to make sure it's not one way. It's really in the best interest of everybody in this room and in the community to have the best and the brightest. We say that, but how do we hire for it? How do we screen it? And I'd love to say in business, we only make great decisions, but we have to have the opportunity or the ability to be able to fix decisions as well, or move people from where they are to where we need them to be.
Yeah, that's one of those things that we do so well, or we do already, that it's not in the plan. Every teacher, every staff member, every administrator is on an evaluation cycle. Annually, they have to set growth goals or improvement goals depending upon where they fall in that evaluation cycle. And then they have an evaluator who works with them to coach them to meet those goals. And there are established standards that they're trying to reach. There's established rubrics that they're measured against. And although there are some opportunities for staff members to get an off year, so to speak, if they have an exceptional evaluation, everybody's on this cycle so that at least every other year, every 2 years, you're getting that specific targeted feedback saying these are the things that you can do to improve. And that's just consistent.
That's great to hear. One other thing that is unique, that's been brought up several times tonight, is COVID. And we have a generational issue in front of us as far as what each kid missed because of COVID. And it'd be interesting to see in that strategic plan if there are any actionable measures that we're taking to supplement or help kids get back to what they missed or grade level performance. Because I'm, as an employer, as a citizen, as a parent, my kids went through it. I can see and identify the fact that there are gaps. And it's a very, very tough thing for all of society to deal with. But it would be nice to know that in that strategic plan, whether it's additional I'll call it summer school or additional things that happen to help a child recover. Because if you missed it in third grade, it's going to carry all the way through. If you missed it in sixth grade, you're going to miss it all the way through. And if there's something that we're doing strategically as part of the plan to help proactively, again, it's the pig through the snake. It's going to take 12 years. And we're going to be either suffering from it or acknowledging it and working through it and doing the best we can to measure that we got kids back where they need to be.
Yeah, well, and I will say that has already started, and as Mrs. Irwin discussed, we've had intensive summer school twice a summer for the past 2 years. We used to have it once a summer. We've expanded that and expanded it to all grade levels. But also our teachers are doing that on a daily basis. You know, they're not sitting around saying, well, this second grade student missed all of this learning from the previous year. They've recognized that because of the internal assessments that they're doing, and they're putting them in small groups and they're working on those skills. And do I think we're back where we were? No, but we're working very hard to get there, and I have full anticipation that we will get back there. That's not something that felt like we needed to address in the plan because it's been going on already for the past 2 years, ever since we returned back to school.
Good input.
You know, something that would add to that and just kind of prompts it is, and I think you touched on it a bit, Amy, but we also have to resource this, you know, whether it's attention or financial or whatever. I mean, you can't just put objectives up and just expect them to get done or add to everyone else's role. And you just picture, you know, some of those needs we need to think about to resource and make priorities out of. Same way on the communication front. You know, there is a gap in communication. Obviously, it's been noticed and recognized. And when you talk about communication, though, we need to make sure that we're resourcing good communication. I mean, communication isn't just something somebody just adds to their job description and just does all this magic communication. When it comes to things like web development and what's required to keep a website updated with usable information, I mean, that's something that we need to be, in my opinion, intentional enough about to make sure we can do a good job with it. Because I think part of what you recognize is it's not because we're trying to shroud what's going on in some mystery and keep people in the dark about what we're doing. It's a matter of really having a resource and being intentional about communicating and making so that our intentions are reflected in our actions, so that we really are, you know, communicating well and making this information available. It isn't, as I think part of what can be misperceived, in my opinion, is it's like, well, we're intentionally keeping people in the dark, which that sure isn't the intention. But I think without that, it's a logical assumption though. It's like, well, they don't want us to know, or well, you can't find this information. And I guess whatever those objectives are, my suggestion for, you know, us as a board is to make sure that we're supporting it from the standpoint of decision-making, resources, whether it's financial or people or what's needed, but we can't just put them up on the board and just expect them to happen.
Yeah, because communication's one of those things that I think everybody in the district does some, and clearly it's not enough.
Yeah, I know, I agree with her 1,000%. I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, we used to do, was it Quaker Talk, or that thing came out, was it once a month? You know what I'm talking about, that little, I love that, you know, and I'll be honest with you, I don't see the stuff on, you know, oftentimes, you know, like I should, whereas that came in the mailbox, I always read it, you know. And I know it's a cost prohibitive situation, and it's so much cheaper just to put it on the internet, you know, but I do love that.
Well, I do have a question about the all-call. I mean, can someone opt into the all-call as a community member, or can that be a new option created?
You know, that's something
You
we
probably have to go
idea.
on the website to sign up for it, but if it's a one and done, and then people can receive information the way that they,
It's not a bad idea.
I don't know, it's just something that crossed my mind.
You know, that's a great idea. I don't know why we couldn't set up a list to do that. That's something I would have to look into for sure, and people would need to opt in, obviously. But
Right.
I don't know why that wouldn't be a possibility.
Follow up with that. get emails and texts about everything else, you know, but would it be that hard to throw a text out every month that today is the board meeting? 6:30 PM, you know? Or even for that, for people that don't have all our text, I wouldn't expect it every month, but like at the beginning of the year, when everybody brings home the school calendars and their packets and information, print out a list of all the board meetings and everything that you know that's going to happen that year. I know there's pop-ups up and things change and cancel, but if you have it set, because I know it's every Thursday of the month, but I can guarantee you there's probably 60% of the people out there know that. And that's how it is. If they just get a calendar at the beginning of the year, they stick on their fridge, you know, maybe they see it, maybe they don't. Maybe
I love those too. Yeah, well, we used to get those. I love those too.
just simple stuff like that, then at least your information's there, you know, I mean.
Yeah.
I know I can go to the website, you gotta go to the tab, you click the tab, find the board meetings, and there you click the tab, it gives you the dates and the agendas. But, you know, someone has a calendar, they just stick on the fridge next to the school calendar.
Good feedback, thank you. Yeah. I hear you. Yes, sorry.
I just wanted to make sure, I thought I heard you say that you're gonna use your administrators and take the 5 goals, and then you're gonna assign an administrator, or they're volunteering to take on one of the goals, right?
By objective, not by goal per se.
By objective.
Yes.
Okay. So when that happens, is there gonna be a name beside that objective as the person that's responsible or accountable? And will that be not a gotcha name to say, oh, if you have a question, go ask that person? But if there's not somebody assigned to it, then there's nobody assigned to it. So it's gonna have to carry a name. There's gotta be somebody that is working that.
Right, yes, they will all have a name beside them.
And my concern, just bringing this up, when I look at facilities, finance, and transportation, I know that's goal 1 and there's an objective. But we're gonna use an administrator, as we're talking about the facilities and what we're gonna do. Is that the right administrator, the right person to be doing that? Or is, and I know that the board hires you to get the job done, and they make sure that you do what you need to do. I don't know our administrators, I don't know their areas of giftedness. And is that a recipe for success, or are we gonna struggle?
Goal 1, objective 1 about facilities, the administrators in charge of that are going to be myself and Mr. Jeff Haney, our buildings and grounds supervisor. So we're going to co-lead that and obviously bring in outside resources as necessary. The job of the administrator is not to accomplish the objective in their own strength, but to ensure that we have the people on, to make sure that it happens. So if that means bringing in other people or other stakeholders or whatever that looks like, they're the ones that are going to drive it forward.
Did you anticipate, talked about feedback quarterly, is that gonna happen here at the board meetings, or is that gonna happen, I hate to say behind the scenes, which is okay, because you gotta run your business, but I just didn't know if there's gonna be quarterly updates at the board meetings, or if that'll be done behind, when will that reporting of the feedback come, and will that be done in public or private?
Well, I guess I'll throw it out to you. I mean, certainly it's going to be done at the administrative meetings. Is that something that the public would like to hear quarterly, or is annually enough, or I'm open. I really want to hear what we want.
I think back in the day when there was my recollection is called the Quakers for Excellence reporting.
2 times ago.
I think it was quarterly. It wasn't
Okay.
monthly. It wasn't once a year. So it was some frequency that it really gave you a sense of what was going on and what was being accomplished.
I know, Steve, that's something I wrote down as Amy was discussing about quarterly reviewing. And that's a topic that, I'm one of 5, but that's a topic that I would love to see discussed at board meetings. The quarterly reviews, just updates, processes, how things are happening. Amy knows, like, we've had conversations about if we're gonna involve stakeholders in this, we have to involve them in the process. You know what I mean? I think that's what you're saying. Not trying to put words in your mouth, but like, how are we gonna know the updates? How are we gonna know how it's going?
I think some of them are great handled and reported on. I think the facility ones is a hot button issue. The more community involvement that you can get, people that are staying in tune with what's going on. And that one may be quarterly, some of the other ones every 6 months, other ones annually or what's happening. But that facility one can light up a room in a heartbeat.
That one might be a monthly report.
Really, yeah. Just to protect you guys or to keep the public as informed as possible.
Absolutely, yeah. It's good.
I'm done talking.
I appreciate the feedback.
I will, if I can just say one thing to another point that Steve had made on the culture and the question. I appreciate your question about, we don't want to just tell our staff they're doing a good job. Part of appreciation to me, and one of the things I've appreciated about Amy and the culture that she's trying to drive here, is appreciation is improvement as well. Appreciation is a plan to get better. Appreciation is those professional development times. Does that make sense? And I've seen that in the way that she has led. Like, as I went through this, like, that's something that I've seen her. It's not just, you're doing a great job, but it's also, great job, let's keep growing, let's, like, that's appreciation, part of that process. Does that make sense? And I just want, right.
Celebrate this not.
And I just want you to know, I've seen that happening.
I just wanted to say, I think it was already discussed, but I do think from a communication from the schools themselves, middle school, high school, even South, they did a great job with, fundraiser pickups, and if there's a red door or something, that's always very good. So that was going to be actually one of my suggestions was, is there a reason why the board isn't able to use, and maybe there's not a reason, but if the board could use something like that to get, information out. And I'm familiar with, websites, and trust me, I know the challenge with that. But sometimes I think with the communication, it can be simple things. There's a place in the center of town where people hang there 365 days a year. Like that fact about the COVID money, and I didn't, this is how much COVID money we got. These are the things that we did with the money we got. I think it's
Good idea, I like it.
Communication is almost like one of those things where until you feel like you're putting too much out, that's just the right amount. If you feel like, wow, we're really putting, that's when people, I think, really like start to notice it on a regular basis, and that's when it gets appreciated. Because, and it was already said, I didn't even realize some of these meetings had happened. And obviously some of you remember I was very involved last time with the facilities commission, and I think I even tried to log on to one of the Zoom meetings, and the link didn't work. On that, but yeah, that was just my.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Oh, and sorry, one more. As a result, and I realize with COVID it threw a wrench in things, but the group that we had hired that helped with the facilities plan last time, as part of their package, or what we paid for, did you ever get any feedback as to why, other than COVID, why they thought it was not successful? Like, I just wonder if if we could to use that as we go forward as part of the plan.
I'm gonna be completely honest and transparent and say that I haven't seen that. There is some information from that group that I haven't dived into and looked at all of those files, so I don't know that answer. But that's a good question, and as we dust things off and try to figure out what we're gonna do next, that would be a good question to try to answer.
Good discussion, good discussions, like it.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
No, it's good feedback. I mean, Amy did a good job kind of framing and explaining, and it's good feedback, and it's acknowledged, and it's good to have, I mean, just to have something that you can work off of. I mean, everybody's got priorities, everybody's got goals, but to have something that you can formalize more and really focus on execution and accountability with getting them done. And I think the adjustment piece is important too. I mean, it doesn't mean with things, nothing, everything's fluid, right? So I
Right,
mean, we've
absolutely.
got plans, priorities, but sometimes we've got to adjust, and I'm supportive.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate the feedback and comments and everything from everyone. And I think that what I see is all of them are adaptable in this strategic plan. As we work through it, as Administrator Amy, her team, Julie, her team, as they work through it, I think everything is can be adjusted in this plan.
Absolutely.
Anything else? All right, call the roll.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine? Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Treasurer's report.
Okay, so to begin my report, I need to report out.
Hold on one second. You are all welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Thanks for staying for the strategic plan presentation. You're all welcome to stay for the rest of it. You're welcome to leave as well if you would like. Sorry, go ahead.
So the one thing I need to report out is we have pending litigation. The Washington Prime has filed a lawsuit against the county, the city, and the school district, wishing that their assessed values be reevaluated. This process started in 2019.
Can you tell us who that is, please?
That's,
Who's Washington?
Washington Prime owns Newtown Mall. Sorry about that. I assumed everybody knew that. So the process started in 2019, and at that time, there were they took it to Board of Revisions. The district was involved. At that time, Board of Revisions made an evaluation, and it cost the district about $245,000 in tax money at that point. However, everyone involved had some say in that. At this point, I can't discuss anything because they have taken that a step above Board of Revisions, and they've taken it to the level of a lawsuit. So basically, we're moving forward with our attorney. I'm not sure what the county and the city are doing at this point. The suit was filed in Texas. There was also a bankruptcy filed in Texas, and we're moving forward. But in the interest of transparency, that's what everyone needs to know.
We have our attorney, city has an attorney, the county is handled by one attorney and save all three entities some money.
So our attorney represents the district, and he has been involved from the beginning. I can't speak to who the attorneys are for the city and the county. They would have separate attorneys.
But I apologize for that, but is it like three separate suits? Is it one suit against all three entities?
All three named in one suit.
So I guess, yeah, my question was, get one attorney and split it between the three of us to save some money.
I'm sure there will be three involved. Board of Revisions will have someone, managing that. And keep in mind, it all goes back to assessed value. And one of the things that we're seeing right now are the assessed values in our county. the average increase in assessed values is 17%, current valuations. So, you know, for a decrease in assessed value, that's, they're gonna have to prove that.
Which is what they are saying, that that the assessed value of Newtown Mall should be less than what it is.
Yes.
Which essentially costs us tax revenue.
How far dollar-wise will our attorneys get into this before they can advise us? How much is it going to cost us to be involved in this lawsuit versus how much tax
What's
value
the risk of loss? Is that what you're asking?
versus reward in this? And how much is it going to cost us to find out? What is the risk versus the reward in this situation?
Well, our attorney will be involved start to finish. And so if you're asking what the risk is, if everything goes as their wishes are, we stand to lose at least what we've already lost.
Okay, but doesn't the district have a choice whether or not they fight this?
Yeah, we're not the only
This is a
entity.
lawsuit. This isn't Board of Revisions.
Yeah.
I understand that, but we've got to spend $100,000 to lose 250 is the
Per year.
potential.
And so the one thing that the suit does ask is that they be compensated clear back to 2019. So let's, just as an example, if it were $200,000 as the reduction in real estate tax for them, we would compensate them back to 2019, $200,000 per year. It's substantial.
Can you get us that information?
I can, but I'm not to release anything right at this time.
But we can discuss that in an executive session because of pending,
Absolutely,
know what's going on.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
I think we should consider knowing what's going on.
Yes,
Yeah, and Dave, I guess my point was if that one entity is suing three entities for the same thing, let's share the cost. In other words, if the school district, see if the county and city will go along with us rather than our lawyers sitting in their offices chalking up a bill, as is the city, as is the county. If somehow we could get it where it's a combined, it's the same argument.
That makes sense. I don't have the kind of background or experience to comment one way or the other. I think it seems like it merits investigation.
Right.
For sure that, I know there's been different things that we've been involved with that the city and the district use the same legal counsel for bonding and whatnot. Wouldn't be the first time that we both had the same representatives.
we can look at that. I can't answer it right now, but we can talk to them about it.
There may be some reason that we shouldn't or can't, I don't know, but sounds like it's worth
looking
finding
at,
out.
though. Yeah.
Okay, are there any further questions on it? So keep in mind, December 31st is our calendar year end, so we have balanced our calendar year end as of this meeting. All balances are in balance. In your drive, you have our financial statement, the key indicator, the cash flow, the check register showing our expenditures. You also have QDA and QPA financials as the sponsor entity for those two entities. And you have our bank reconciliation. Everything is in balance. We're required under audit to have you approve our MasterCard points and limits, so you have that report. And on the item J, we have a proposal with EnviroServe for $7,857.85. And that's to remove waste at the maintenance building, the current maintenance building down on South Broadway, in anticipation of getting ready to get out of that building and move into our other building. I'm asking for you to renew the annual board president bond. That is from 1/9/23 to 1/9/24, and the bond costs $100. It is $20,000 in coverage. And accept a donation from $600 from York Alumni Group. The alumni group has decided that they're not meeting anymore. That's the balance in their checking account. So they turned that over to the district and asked us to give that to a York Elementary student as a scholarship. Mrs. Claxon is currently taking care of writing all that up, and making sure everything's ready for that. Later in the evening, we're going to hire the new assistant treasurer for the district. And so I'm asking that you approve the administrative salary index to include that new position as an administrator. That position in the past has been administrative support. And the person we're hiring, the reason we would like her to be an administrator, she has a master's degree. She's coming to us from the Auditor of State's office, and she's got a lot of technical skills. I'm very excited about that. It's Katie Christ, and she'll be on the agenda later here in a few minutes. But Katie is with us this evening. With that in mind, I'm asking you to approve her job description. And I gave you a red line version to show you the updates that she will have new responsibilities. So that position runs the payroll, which is about 83% of our budget. She also will help maintain budgets and certifications with the county, and she'll do some other things that are very, very important to the district to keep us moving. Item N, at the beginning of the meeting, I did ask to table that until I get more information. Item O, I'm requesting a transfer from the general fund to the ECF fund in the amount of $33,817.90. The ECF fund is an E-rate managed fund, and what we were permitted to do was apply for that funding. It's federal funding. It was part of the COVID era of fundings. And one of the things in that E-rate funding, they asked us to charge off MiFis for students to this grant. The reason we need to transfer from the general fund, they determined that they would only pay for those MiFis when they were actively being used. So that's the reason for that transfer, to make that fund whole. And then we have a donation of $1,000 from the band boosters to cover truck and trailer repairs, so that the district didn't have to pay the full lion's share of those repairs. That completes this portion of my report, and then I'll have one more action item.
Do you have a motion to approve the treasurer's report tabling N?
So moved.
Mr. Weaver, second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Galantine? Any questions?
Yes, kind of flows over into facilities report, but item I, the $7,857 for hazardous waste removal. One of the things that Mr. Haney is doing with moving into the new building is generating a schedule to actually get rid of things in a timely fashion. This has got to be the third or fourth time since I've been on the board that we've just cleaned the space out of useless stuff that certainly had a value at one point, but what this is, we have to get rid of. A lot of us in here might remember it. Remember the copiers that you cranked it and it smelled. There's a bunch of 5-gallon pails of that juice that made the copies sitting in the, and it's just so, I mean, a great step. It's unfortunate that the stuff was there, but on the positive side, we're working hard to generate a schedule how we get rid of stuff when it's reached the end of its useful lifetime for the district, so we don't have 80 gallons of copy juice.
Anything else? All right, call the roll.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you. And item O on the agenda is a tax anticipation note for the district. This is a resolution to get a tax anticipation note is the equivalent of short-term debt to an individual. And so I'm asking for $2.5 million to get us through until the county can start releasing tax money. The reason is because the county, typically, we start drawing in January advances on our tax real estate bills. And at this point, the county, because they're in reassessment mode, has not mailed out those bills, and so they're not collecting. And if they don't collect, I can't ask for advances. So to get us through this short period of time, I'm asking for a tax anticipation note of $2.5 million. That should get us through January. And then we should be able to ask for advances after that. I did talk to Mr. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, his name just left me. Larry Limbaugh today, and the expectation to mail those bills is January 18th. So it takes about a week once the bills are mailed to start receiving over-the-counter checks. And until they receive that, I can't start requesting advances. We usually advance about $2 million in January. So that's the purpose. Huntington Bank is working well with us. They actually, I requested that they write this term note to have no penalties for early payoff. So as soon as I start getting our coffers built back up, I can pay it back and not have any penalties. So, and it does require a separate board action.
Okay, can I have a motion?
So moved.
France, a second?
I'll second.
Any questions, comments?
I do just have a quick question. So this happened last year, I remember. Does this happen, is there something that's fundamentally changed with scheduling that requires this? Is there anything that we can or should do to plan any differently? Can we try to work with the county so that they send them out earlier? I'm trying to understand why this is coming up in the last year or two and hadn't come up in the previous 12 or so.
Yeah.
And then understanding there's got to be some, even if it's minor, some cost to borrowing money for a period of time.
There is.
So-
The interest rate is 6.19, so I want to pay it back as quickly as I can. So it happened in January of '21, not January of '22.
Okay.
And the reason was we were in the middle of COVID, which again, they slowed the
Delayed the-
collections, they
yeah.
delayed the billing.
Okay.
So anytime there's delayed billing, that's delayed influx for them, which is
Yep.
delays us asking for advances. This particular time, we just finished an evaluation year. So all of our assessments were reevaluated. The state is just now approving those assessments, the reevaluations. And in our county, the counties that had reassessments, everybody's increasing. Of course, you realize from houses being sold, the values increase drastically. So our county, the average is going to be 17% increase. Some people will experience 22, 23%. Some people will experience 14%. And so the state had to approve all of those assessments, and that's what's kind of slowed that roll down.
So in normal years, without something like that, there would be the collection earlier, of which then we can begin to advance off of once they've started that.
Right.
You're saying, okay,
The county reassesses every 3 years.
okay,
Typically, I don't think we have seen this kind of increase in valuations.
okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right, call the roll.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, I have several personnel items to bring before the board. We do have one resignation, supplemental contract. Would like to make the recommendation that we hire Katie Christ as our assistant treasurer. She can begin next week. We'll finish out the year and then start her regular 2-year contract effective July 1. We have a few classified positions that I'm recommending for hire, as well as a couple supplemental positions. And we are still adding some substitutes. Have one more substitute teacher that we're adding to our list, which always brings a lot of enthusiasm and joy to us, as well as approving some volunteer student teachers and another CBI student. So if I could get a motion to approve that.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Who said that?
Me.
Mr. France.
Call the roll.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Galantine? Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Committee reports.
Just want to draw your attention to the fact that the Business Advisory Council that we are part of through the ESC Educational Service Center, that link goes to their minutes. They will be, those are posted online. Facilities Committee, I know we started to report, I don't know, Mr. France, Mr. McMath, you want to share out any other items on Facilities Committee?
With the early meeting this month, we've not met since last month, so
Meeting's Thursday.
next week we'll have some information for you.
Yep. Mr. Williams.
Just finalizing our January 27th PD day with a nice mix of curriculum, mixed with safety, collaboration, and we have instructional supports from outside, working on small groups, continuing to work on that aspect. So, yep, finalizing that.
All right, moving on to the superintendent's report. I do just want to take a minute. January is School Board Recognition Month. So I have a special certificate here I'd like to present to each of our board members. You know, being a member of the Board of Education is a sometimes thankless job, requires a lot of energy and a lot of time for very little tangible payout, although having the opportunity to impact the lives of our students here at the Quaker community is certainly quite valuable. This certificate says it is presented in sincere appreciation for exemplary leadership and service to public schools. And it's signed by the Chief Executive Officer and the President of the Ohio School Boards Association. So on their behalf, I'd just like to officially appreciate each of you.
Oh, thank you.
Chris?
You.
Todd?
Thank you.
Den?
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your service and your time and your leadership. The district really could not do this without you.
Thank you.
A few other items under my report. I ask that you approve the high school course guide that is Exhibit P in your folder. Asking you to approve the graduation of Mariah Emery, effective December 22nd, 2022. She's now met all of her graduation requirements. Actually, ask you to have the second reading and final adoption of the 2023-2024 school calendar and the first reading of board policies JFE related to student pregnancy and related conditions and KKA recruiters in the schools. I can have a motion to approve those items, and I can take any questions that you would have on them.
So moved.
Mr. France, second.
I'll second.
Debbie? Any questions, comments?
Makes sense.
Great. Call the roll.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine? Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, and do I have Dr. Fuller's not here this evening to do it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Darn if he's not.
Is that your motion?
I'll motion. Very good.
And a second?
Second. Call the roll.
Mr. Galantine? Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you all for coming.